Welcome back to another episode of the Generation Elevation podcast. Today, I am joined with a wonderful guest, and I'm so excited to introduce to you her today. What's really special about our connection is we've actually known each other quite a while now. Like one of the first couple of people that I met in London along my journey. It's been a while since, and our paths have crossed here and there. So when I was working at Equinox, she was an instructor there. And I always remember just her really kind, welcoming energy. Then when I started running my events, she's always been such a cheerleader of the work that I've been doing. And recently, I attended one of her own classes that I cannot wait to explain to you about what happened in it. And it really unlocked something for me. So I thought, when tasked with finding powerful women in London, which I want to have on the Generation Elevation podcast, I automatically thought of this incredible lady. Now, coming from a pro dance background, she's incorporating these skills and this wisdom into her own fitness classes that she is running all across the top gyms in London. One of the classes that I came to participate in was a part of Sanctum, but not only is she creating community and impact through Sanctum, but she is such an advocate for empowerment and bringing people together to encourage movement and well-being. So with that said, I'm so grateful to introduce to you all today the incredible Mani Sidhu. Hello, Mani.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm really good. The sun is shining. I'm sat here on the podcast. So pleased to be here. So thank you for having me, firstly.
My pleasure. Now, Mani, a lot of my listeners, they will be like, who is Mani? They've never probably even heard of you, right? So I would love for you to share maybe a little bit about yourself, like how you got to be part of working with Sanctum, you're running classes all around like the top gyms in London. Like, how does one get into that space?
Yeah, of course. I guess this completely dates back to being a young Yorkshire girl with a passion for dance and moving her body. My parents threw me into a local dance school with the hopes of improving my posture, she says, slouched on the sofa. I'm relaxed over here, but on a day-to-day, I hope my posture is good. And that passion was just fueled, and ended up moving to London to pursue a professional dancing career. And in the final term of my final year, having handed in my dissertation, the pandemic hit. And what I thought were my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations of being on the West End stage and dancing on cruise ships around the world disappeared. And I can say this now, but it's been the biggest blessing that happened. Because the way that I see my life now and the people that I've met and the journey that I've been on it couldn't have been on any vision board. I tell you what. I had the opportunity to train in the bar space whilst I was doing my degree, and took that and ran with it and not really looked back. I actually cut ties with my agencies that I was hoping to pursue a professional dance career with last year. And that was kind of like a closing of a chapter. It was a time in my life. I've harnessed and gathered that information and propelled it into my fitness and well-being and community building. And I'm just buzzing if I didn't know what was going to happen 5 years from to get to this point, I'm so excited for the journey ahead because, I think the possibility is absolutely endless.
My affirmation lately to myself is it just keeps getting better and better. Right? It just keeps getting better and better. And if you don't know what is about to happen, it's perfect, because if you did, it means you're doing the same thing over and over again, right? And that means you're not progressing. So if you are in this podcast right now, in this conversation, and you're like, wow, I feel a bit lost, I have no idea what the next 6 to 12 months are going to hold for me, that is so good, because even people like Joe Dispenza talk about the magic is in the unknown. And clearly in your case, that has been magic in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah. And I love that you brought up Joe Dispenza, because I listen to him frequently, and I love the whole talking about habits and patterns and cycles that we get ourselves into. And I think there's certainly space for maybe the more mundane and the more, here's me easing in the seasons, right? The seasons in your day, the season in your week, your month, your year, whatever it might be. And I thought it all needed to be go, go, go. And that was where, success lay. But actually, I think at the moment I'm unlocking and realizing my potential.
I love it.
And that has come from a place of huge reflection. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And that's probably the most exciting thing about all of this, is that I thought I knew.
The more you know, the less you realize you know, right? Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing that is.
Mm. It would be boring if we knew it all, I think.
I'm not here for boring.
No, we're not here for boring. So for the listeners, Manny, why should they tune in for the rest of this podcast, right? Like, they have a brief understanding of who you are, what you're about. They know you don't like boring. So what is the intention of today? Like, what is the main thing that we really want to get across to the audience?
Gosh, I hope you continue to listen, because what I've realized is that even the interaction where we met, energy is everything, right? Your perception, the way that you have an outlook on life is everything. So, like you said, the listener might be stuck in their own habits and patterns and struggling to see a way through. I'm saying I've been there, and I've been in that vicious cycle, and it really feels like there's no way out, and it's like all consuming. I'm saying that hearing stories and listening to people who have seen the other side of it, there's some beautiful possibilities. I hope you continue to listen, because I'm really excited to be here. I'm so pleased to be here. Buzzing.
Let's go. All right. So then I would really love to paint a picture for the audience. You said that you have been through it, right? What did that look like for you? Or what did it even sound like, those thoughts that came up for you when maybe you had to leave your whole expectation of what you thought your life would be, of a career in dance and being in the West End, to completely that being flipped on its head? Like, let's rewind the clock and tell me about a day when you really felt it.
Yeah. I think the UK system is, well, society conditions you to think that it goes school, then uni, then this, then that, and it's the next thing, it's the next thing. And that's okay. I lent into that, and I saw value in it. People who had gone through that system, great. But it was the pandemic, funnily enough, that really shook everything for me and made me realize, like, you don't have to live this way. You don't have to go down the way that's going to be normal and conventional. Because if you told me that I'd be sat here doing this right now, a couple of years ago, wouldn't have believed you. But things like this, things like Sanctum, things like boutique fitness spaces, things like building a wellness community, all of that felt unbelievably scary and unknown and unfamiliar. And what I realized is, whilst I was in that cycle, so let me take you to a day where I did feel like I was in the depths and I was really low. And that wasn't even that long ago. I can literally pull myself back to about a year ago. And I'm an acne sufferer. I've, got a condition on my my skin and all that kind of stuff, still going through that journey. But that's how my body kind of manifested and brought stuff to the surface. And like, I was looking in the mirror constantly. I was picking myself apart. And what I realized, it wasn't the symptoms that were the biggest issue. It was what I was saying to myself and how badly I spoke to myself. I look back at that version of me now and I think, gosh, I wish I could just give you the biggest squeeze. I wish I could hold you and just be like, it gets really good. It gets really, really good. And there's another side to this. So it breaks my heart when people hide themselves or shut themselves off or pull themselves back. Maybe it is from something physical that's manifested itself, or it's from the words that they're telling themselves. If you could start anywhere, it's the self-talk, right?
Oh, that is so powerful. I've got full body goosebumps right now. And I can speak from like a young female perspective, right? Um, I have seen so many people, just the way in which they talk to themselves is always like either apologizing for being too loud, or right when they're given a compliment, it's like, oh no, dishing it back. And this I can see so clearly now because I used to do that so much. And I used to like look in every mirror and like be consciously aware of physically of what I look like, and always worried, like, do I need to like hold it in when I'm walking, or like, are my thighs moving too much when I'm like wearing shorts? And these were all the things that I used to really focus on when I was younger too. And I can really resonate with just, yeah, looking in the mirror and saying such awful things. And it just, when you kind of see the other end of that, yeah, looking back and just wanting to be that version of yourself where you could just give them a hug. Like in my journey back to Australia over Christmas, a story that really sticks out to me is I was going through old photo albums, and I can remember how exactly I thought about myself in each photo. Like I could remember clear as day what I was thinking. And there was one netball training photo in that book. And that whole day, I've got goosebumps. Whew, that whole training, I was comparing myself to what the other girls looked like. And I was hiding, and I just felt like my body was different to theirs. And I was looking at this photo like 10 years later, and I'm thinking, I am so sorry that I spoke to myself in that way, because I looked at that photo and thought, she's beautiful. Uh, I'm learning that, I'm not sure if this exact stat is true, but roughly around 30% of our thoughts is like less than what everyone else thinks of us. Like we think of ourselves 30% less than what everyone else thinks. So this is what I've been reminding myself lately, is that self-talk or that doubt that maybe comes up time to time, like no one else can see that. And it's really, like you said, it starts from your mind. So what was that turning point for you when obviously you had this relationship with yourself that maybe was like deteriorating your character? What was that flip? Like when did you start talking to yourself positively? Like for an audience member who may resonate, how do they stop that? How do they change their self-talk?
If I'm being totally honest, when someone was like, energy is everything, I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. So I needed science. I needed like facts. I needed someone to be like, this is what it says in black and white. This is what it says in the literature. And then I could resonate with that. And what I didn't realize is how much they're both intertwined, obviously. Obviously. So when I've got, doctors who blend both worlds, like people like Joe Dispenza, unbelievably, you hear about the way that on a cellular level, like the body's made up of so much water, right? Even like right down to our deepest levels and layers. It's all energy, and it's all like there was a study, I can't remember where from, where they had kids talk to two beakers of water in separate rooms. Did you read that study?
I
And
think so.
it's so beautiful, but because these kids would talk to this one beaker of water and such negative talk, saying nasty things to it and, giving it all, the insults and all that kind of stuff. And on a cellular level, they could see that that water was depleted. Like, we should tag that study.
Yes.
Because it's so powerful. And if we're made up of all that water and, pureness from within, and then from that, we're building and we're becoming. How are we talking to ourselves right to that deepest level? And I think that's what flipped it for me. And then when I'm constantly consuming those higher frequencies of joy and love and elevation and not to say that there's no space for like thoughts of maybe shame come in or no negativity. Those thoughts happen, but they pass. I'm simply not giving them time or effort anymore. But that in my mind, I was like, I'm not expecting to be happy, clappy, positive all the time. And I feel like if you've been to my classes across London before, if you've been to a Sanctum class, yes, the energy is there. Yes, the vibes are high. Yes, I'm here to empower you. But there's a person on the other side of that, right? There's a person who has nuances and they can experience all of the, the spectrum of emotions. But it's what you focus on. That's the most powerful thing.
It's truly a skill, I think, to build within yourself, just like you would build a muscle or when you're in the gym, right? I think a lot of people think that it's just like you're born with the way that your thoughts naturally are inclined to think. But actually, the way you think or being happy, I believe, is actually a skill that you practice, that you choose. And like you just said, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Like, what you're focusing on is what you're choosing to focus on. And sometimes you can get so far deep in the rabbit hole and habitual pattern of doing that thought over and over again that you don't even realize you're choosing it over and over again. But it's through the likes of like doing a workout, doing a meditation class, journaling, and starting to become mindful of the way that you're thinking. That awareness created from those practices then gives you the option. Do you want to keep thinking this way? Is this actually serving you? Or would there be another thought that could serve you better? Like Tony Robbins speaks about this all the time. Like, are you asking yourself empowering or disempowering questions? And if you're asking disempowering questions, how could you reframe it? How could you ask something that maybe gives you a positive answer, right? Because you could ask a question like, what am I doing wrong? And your brain is going to give you lots of answers. But if you ask yourself, what am I doing right? How could I create or do something that may progress me? Then you're going to give yourself more empowering answers, right?
Totally.
Your brain does what you tell it to do.
We spend so much time focusing on what the worst thing could happen and all that. What if it was the best thing? What if it was, this is my potential and this is me stepping into my absolute own? This is me owning that fire. And I think as women as well, which I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation, we're so quick to shut ourselves off, to be like, oh, maybe that's a bit too much. I love, there's a poem, a beautiful poem, the Too Much Woman, shared to me by a dear friend, Kelly. And it speaks to, being loud in those rooms and taking up space. Naturally, as a reaction, as women, do we feel like, oh gosh, do we pull back from that? Like, what is that visceral feeling that comes across in the body? When did we start pigeonholing ourselves? And when are we going to take flight?
I feel like now is a really appropriate time to speak about my experience in your Sanctum class, because I'm going to go on a tangent, but I'm going to pull it back to exactly that point of like being seen and owning your fire. So you can explain a little bit more about what Sanctum is, but what I do want to share is that I rocked up to Manny's class, meaning to do it for ages. I was like, what is this? What is this Sanctum thing? Or what is Fanny doing over there? That looks really cool. They've got headphones on, dancing, meditation. I was like, this is such my vibe. And with all the facilitation that I'm doing lately, I was like, I need to just receive. And somehow perfectly, of course, I rocked up at the exact intended class for me that hit me deep in my soul. And what I noticed in this class, Manny, and I'll get you to maybe explain a little bit further on why maybe this was the case, but there was a bit of yelling going on in there. And I noticed I could not yell. And I had to really force myself to even make a slight noise. I'm thinking, okay, I've got some sort of block here about being loud or being heard in my loudness. And as a speaker, as a podcast host, as a facilitator, that is going to hold me back so much. And in that class, got goosebumps again, is what I realized is just this huge block that I had. And so I started getting louder and louder. And the next day I definitely had a sore throat.
Oh no.
Yeah, but what I did realize is just that I'd been holding my voice back because I've been afraid of what might happen when I'm finally heard in my power. And this whole year for me has been on the theme of being seen and being heard and letting my nervous system feel safe in that. So I'm sure this is a common thing, especially in these classes that you host. But for the audience, first of all, I'd love for you to share what the heck is a Sanctum class? And then secondly, maybe the common themes or blocks that you see when women especially are encouraged to be in that full raw expression.
That was a really beautiful class that you came to as well. The setting was just stunning. And yeah, that is definitely one in my mind for the book. So I'm so grateful that you got to experience that. So Sanctum has been in my life for maybe 18 months now, and I've been a guide with them. They don't call them instructors, they're guides. We're leading you through a practice for a year. So yeah, I've been holding these experiences for a year, and they so beautifully celebrate the world of Kundalini and high intensity movement and primal movement. And they use words and affirmations and music and movement and bring it all together into this beautiful package of a 55-minute experience. And I'm sure you can speak to this, but you certainly go on a journey. It doesn't make sense for you to walk in and just start screaming into a room, right? It has to be a build up to that point. And then also it's important to bring it back down and then elevate and then bring it yeah, it's certainly an experience in itself. You do this over a pair of headphones. I'm speaking to you through a microphone that you can hear these headphones. And Sanctum do such a great job they don't have a fixed studio. So they host these experiences in beautiful spaces where you can be inspired by the space around you. So for example, we were in an old hospital wing, St. Bart's Hospital, in London, near St. Paul's. So that was gorgeous, a really gorgeous, vast space where so much history had been, right? But it felt almost purpose built for us in that moment. It couldn't have been more fitting. So yeah, the experience itself is, like I said, a journey. And I've learned so much in the time that I've been with this company, with this movement, with this. I was like, I need to be a part of this company in any capacity, whatever that looks like. So yeah, I'm so grateful for being a part of it. And when it comes to different moments in the class where you're maybe using your voice or using movement, they say embarrassment is an underrated feeling within the body. And it's not to say that we're provoking that. We're not telling you, oh, go stand in the middle of the room, everyone's going to point and laugh at you because, as a child, that would be as now my biggest fear, right? Yeah. But it'd be also putting your body and your mind into a state that feels uncomfortable and unfamiliar. because actually that's where the magic happens. Because actually coming out of those habits and patterns and rituals and things that you were conditioned to believe, shifting that and being like, whoa, here's a moment where it feels like I'm sticking my ass out and it feels really bizarre and really weird. I'm moving my spine in these weird ways. And suddenly it feels so foreign in my body. But then what does that bring up in your mind? What new thoughts are coming to light? What old thoughts and habits are you shedding a light on? That is genuinely my transformation I don't think it's any surprise that it's been through Sanctum, alongside Sanctum. Um, and it is a movement that is continuing to build.
Yeah, it can really resonate with the specific moves or the sounds that then provoked thoughts in me where I was like, oh, like I did feel embarrassed at points. I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to turn my headphones up louder because I don't want to hear myself. And recently I've just started doing singing lessons. And what's very interesting, like the first day I was stiff as a board. In my head, my mind was like, I've got this, like I'm a mindset coach, like I can do this. I'm not scared of failure. Failure's feedback. And I'm in my mind calm, but my instructor, he's like grabbing my hands, shaking them around. He's like, loosen up, like relax. And my body was stiff as a board the first session. And over time, I've begun to relax. But as soon as he puts me in front of a mic, my whole body starts to get nervous again. Because when I speak into a mic with these ones, like in a podcast, I can't hear myself. But when I'm doing an actual like singing mic, I can hear myself. And so the louder I sing into the mic, the louder the noise is. And I noticed that my body would want it to shrink away. And even just the practice of going to those lessons for me has been so healing. And yeah, even in this class, that was one of like the key things that I experienced was like, whoa, I have got something I need to work on around being heard and truly standing up for myself. And this is what I mentioned to you before we even started recording today is like, I wanted Manny to come onto my podcast today because I admire the fire that she has in her. And like, we don't know each other that well, right? But like what I see is just like a woman who can really like stand her ground, stand up for herself and knows what she wants. And that for me is like something that I'm wanting to embody more of. So on the back of that, even for like someone like me, what would be your advice to people out there that maybe struggle to speak up, to share their voice, ask for what they want? Like, have you always been like that?
Have I always been like that? Fiery, yes. I think growing up in classes and at school, I was always told, you're bossy, but you're confident. You want to take control, maybe not in the best way. And I'm like, that's the only way things are getting done around here. Like, let's make it happen. And I think I've always had that. And there have been times in my life where I've pulled back and felt smaller and felt like, oh, maybe I can't use my voice here. But actually, speaking up and saying what I want, I think people respect that more. And it's funny because I listen to myself now and I'm questioning that. That was a question mark. People will respect you more when you say what you want and what you need. Like there's obviously a way to say it and a way to do it. And kindness is key. But the biggest switch for me was your light cannot be dimmed if you give it to someone else. Like you showcasing and celebrating the people around you will only elevate the rest of the community, the tribe, the class, the experience. And it's funny that you say, because my friends will laugh at this, the whole cheerleader energy. I'm here with my pom-poms, shaking ass over here because I am so championing anyone and everyone around me. You're within my circle, girl, I'm going to celebrate you every single step of the way. Not just about like the proposal, the this, the pregnant. No, it's beyond that. I'm proud of you for stepping into your power and speaking up when it felt right. I'm proud of you for going on a meal on your own post breakup when you feel like that was the hardest thing that you could possibly do. I'm going to celebrate you every step of the way. And actually, that fuels me. That gives me so much energy and so much joy because I'm like, do you know, like some sort of team, like
Mm.
if they can do it, I can do it. And if they see me doing it, well, then of course I'm going to be the next, I'm going to speak to the people who are maybe a couple of steps behind me. And I want to speak to people who are a couple of steps ahead of me. And I celebrate them and champion them.
I think that is quite a rare thing to find in specific communities. Like I know growing up, I never really came across friendship groups that were like that. So I really struggled. And I think like even just real time reflecting, maybe that is where that fear of being heard and fear of being seen comes from, because it's like I grew up in communities that if you shone too bright or you achieved anything, um, yeah, you'd be like cut down. Or it's like in Australia, we call it like tall poppy syndrome. It's like if one poppy grows taller than the rest, you chop it down. I'm not sure what you would call it here in the UK, but it's very much that feeling of being scared to share wins or successes because of what other people may say or think about that. And so I think for a long time, I kept that to myself. I shied away from the light that I had to share because for me, like, I didn't want anyone to feel bad about what I was doing. I wanted everyone to win and we all go together. And what's really beautiful as I have celebrated my own wins more, right? When I have spoken to myself in a kinder way and celebrated the moments where I showed up when I really didn't feel like it, I then started to attract friendships and connections that also did that for me too. And I really believe that it comes down to people are your mirror in this case. And I used to talk so negatively to myself, and I believe in that time is when I had the most people around me who were like that. Versus now, I'm supported by so many incredible women and men in my life who want to support me, who are there to lift me up, and then also vice versa. It's so equal, and I'm so grateful for that. And I really believe like people are your mirror in this case.
What do they say? You're the product of the 5 people around you. So
Mm.
then choose wisely, choose those people so wisely. And if, there's someone that needs to kind of be shifted to one side ever so slightly, then I get it. I get it. And that might be someone who's like, a parent, a sibling, or a supposed close friend that will feel difficult to cut that tie. But yeah,
So even like for you, you went through a period of cutting ties with your West End life, right? And that whole dance career, and now shifting into the fitness world. Like for someone who's listening who may be on the brink of leaving behind like the old version of themselves and stepping into their highest version of themselves, what would be your advice to them who someone's going through that?
I think. Do you want me to keep talking? I think it's difficult to see the other side of things for sure. Um, I can't even say that I've got it figured out, girl, if I'm totally honest. If I'm totally honest. It was, like I said, it was only a couple of months ago that I managed to step away from my agencies, which I tried so hard to get and like put all the auditions out and put my CV through, and so much effort and energy went into that. It takes time to build something, right? So I'm not going to turn around to the listener and be like, you need to cut ties because it's not serving you and it's going to be super easy. It's not. It's not at all. And I'm not going to deny that. I think periods of reflection and sitting with myself and just being and realizing what's going on. Manny, what's actually going to make you happy here? Is it actually serving your purpose? Is it helpful for you to feel like, in my opinion, in my experience, I felt like a number. I felt really disposable. I felt like I was queuing around, studios for an audition where I was seen for all of 3 minutes to then be told, yeah, that's it, you're done. I didn't feel valued in those spaces. And it's funny because sometimes those feelings crop up again and I'm like, my body recognizes that. My mind recognizes that. What's that doing for me? Is this serving my highest purpose and power? I read something the other day. I was listening to something that said, your highest version of yourself is here and you're here. You need to collapse time and bring that version of you closer. So how is it that that version of you moves? How do they think? How do they feel? What are they doing in their day to day? I'm not saying it needs to be this massive quantum leap that you're jumping to and it's really difficult. I'm saying, okay, does that person maybe wake up in the morning straight away and doesn't scroll through their phone, or how they're nourishing their body, how they're speaking to strangers around them? Those little nudges, how can you gently make the progression to that highest version of yourself?
I love that so much. What reminds me of this whole thing is when I was in that phase of talking negatively, specifically around like my body. I remember I was walking along the beach in the Gold Coast, and that switch came for me where I was like, okay, how would I walk along the beach right now if I was confident, at least? Like, how would I walk? Would I be slumped over and looking at and focusing on my legs as I walk? Or would I be shoulders back and eyes up and smiling at everyone? And I'd often like visualize the version of me that I am now. And I had this realization the other day. Um, I have this visual of me walking like to an event, getting ready to facilitate. And it's me in this gray looking suit. I've been looking for that suit lately because I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready for that now. I haven't found the exact one, but I know like when I do, it's time. But that was a really cool realization because I think for me, I don't know about you, Manny, but for me personally, like I always thought that moment of like switching to that confident like version of myself was like going to be this dramatic event, right? But confidence, I believe, is something you just truly build over time, like this positive self-talk and this highest version of yourself. Becoming them is just skill. And like confidence, like Alex Hormozy talk about this all the time, how like having that confidence there is just from like moments and lots of moments of building the proof. And I think the other day I had that moment of realization where like I had realized I have been building the last year, and to then go, okay, it's time for me to buy the suit was kind of like, yeah, well, duh, right? That's the next thing. So I think my advice for anyone listening to this conversation who can feel that there is more potential that they could unlock within themselves, but maybe you are noticing the gap, asking yourself those empowering questions of, okay, what can you do right now to build proof that you are that person? And it could just simply be walking with your eyes up and smiling at the next stranger you see. Like that's how I started.
I love that so much. I love that so much.
Thank you.
It is. I thought the same. Like there was going to be a big fanfare, and here's a brand new shiny version of Manny ready to take on the world. When you see yourself in 30 years' time, what does that look like? How does she move? How does she feel? What is her perception of the world? Embodying those micro changes is what moves the needle.
So with that said, like that ultimate potential for you, Manny, what is calling you next? And how does that feel in your body? Like what are you currently moving through?
I think I've spent a huge amount of time within the boutique fitness space and learnt so much, so much. Um, your vibe attracts your tribe, and I want to create a space and a platform that is on my terms, that I can share all those weird, wonderful things that I'm up to, or it's funny because I've had a few conversations today, and it's like sprinkling those bits of potential in my body and like, oh, how does it feel? What is this bringing up?
Mm.
But then I realize that that's just the higher version of myself speaking, right? This is me stepping into my next potential and chapter. And although it scares me beyond belief what that
Mhm.
could look like, and maybe cutting ties with things that I thought were really familiar and really safe, I'm like, but what if it worked out well? What if this was the best thing ever?
Mm.
What if it isn't? I mean, I think you have to get comfortable with failure, right? You have to be like, keep going, keep trying, keep doing the thing. That's how magic happens. So I'm really looking forward to like building a platform, space, community, and people are coming to celebrate one another,
Mm.
and maybe incorporating my classes. And that could be one part of it. It doesn't need to look completely like that. But yeah, that's what I'm working towards at the moment.
That is so powerful. Like I have full body goosebumps. I'm like, of course, our conversation ended up being about potential today. And what was interesting, right? What you just said about feeling maybe that this next level is coming through and it is maybe a little bit scary. Like I've totally been experiencing that in the past week as well, where huge manifestations are just dropping in. And I'm noticing my body being like, nervous system overload. Like,
Mm.
whoa, okay, we're here. What now? I didn't expect it to happen so fast. Like, am I even ready for that? And that's the thoughts that have been coming up for me. And like this whole week, I've just been like self-soothing and regulating my nervous system because it's just so wild to think like for such a long time you work and hustle for that thing, and then when it's finally here your body's like, wait, no, like not ready yet. So I guess this will resonate for anyone that is taking that leap, and maybe you have been hustling and working towards that goal. And what I think I want to get across in this conversation, that if you're listening, you're likely very close to that and you likely have already done a lot of the work. And I feel that this moment in time is old thoughts coming back up to finally be released, to finally be let go of, so that you can truly step into that version of yourself.
Totally.
Because I thought like I was done with maybe worrying about worthiness or whether I'm ready to receive this, but apparently no. And it's taken this manifestation to really drop in for my body to be like, wait a second.
What's
And
going on here?
yeah, and upon reflecting, it was just like this old inner child self worrying that maybe it would be messed up or it wouldn't work out. And and then it also ties into this theme of just like owning it, owning your power, like acting as if you're that person now, even if you don't feel like it, even if you don't feel like you're confident enough or you're ready enough. Like, I don't think you ever will be. And so just doing it anyway. And I think with time, like that will build that confidence. Your potential then moves and grows and evolves with you. And you never truly get it done. But that's what it's about, right? It's just never getting it done, but always evolving. And that's what makes it less boring, I think, is just enjoying the crazy twists and turns in between.
That's where the fun is, right? The crazy twists and turns in between, the unexpected. Do you want to know my mantra for
Oh, please.
this year? The whole fake it till you make it. I'm not here for it. Be it till you become it. Be it till you become it. And I think those little micro changes that we were talking about, stepping in, maybe a little bit tentatively to start off with, but one day you will look back and be like, I dreamt of this version of myself. This version of me right here, I wanted this time ago. So I'm so looking forward to the next version of me. It's like constantly shedding layers and stepping in and embracing all the change.
I love it. I love this. So, for the listeners who want to write notes and really want to just take away and digest everything we've spoken about today, what would you say like the three main things are that they can do to help them fully step into this next level version of themselves?
Yeah, I love that. I think number one, a state of reflection. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've done so far. You've survived 100% of your hardest days, right? Number two, what does that future version of you look like? How do they move? What are they doing? Because that's it. Reflection the past, the future, and then I want you to sit in the present. I want you to celebrate the mundanest of the mundane, to seep and soak up so much love and gratitude and the joy and focus in and hone in on that. Then and only then, those changes will happen. Those changes will happen all around you, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it.
Reality is your mirror.
Mm, that in itself. So yeah, reflect, take a look back, take a far look forwards, and then sit into the now.
Oh, I love it so much. Okay, so where can my listeners find you if they want to come to your classes, they want to connect with you, and they want to share with you their thoughts on this podcast today and what it brought up for them? How can they find you?
My Instagram is _Manny Sidhu. You'll be able to catch me on my new platform coming up soon, pending. You can catch me in bar classes across London, whether that's at Equinox, whether that's at Studio Fix, Bar Call. I love hosting an event, so come on down to that. And my Sanctum classes, come on down, pop me a message on Instagram. Let's chat, step into a bit of unknown and unfamiliar. Um,
Perfect. And one final question, Maddie, to finalize and conclude this beautiful conversation today. You ready?
mhm.
If you were to tune into your intuition, to your own inner guidance, and share a message today for the collective, and it doesn't have to really be about what we've spoken about today, it could be different, but a message that they need to hear right now upon listening, what would that message be?
Keep going. Keep going.
Perfect. Thank you so much.